Well, I guess we can start. I think everyone is already in the rooms.
Sure.
Well, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Churio, and I am the content and social media specialist at YKK Corporation of America. I'm based in Marietta, Georgia. Calling from home today, like many of us. But thank you all for joining today's call. What we wanted to do was discuss more about our collaboration between YKK and Oceanworks. Oceanworks is the global marketplace for recycled ocean plastic materials and products, and we're very excited to work with and have this partnership. And so we have a great team of experts today to guide us through, what the collaboration is and about some of the products that YKK has in our sustainable line of products, and also what we're doing to address the ocean or plastic pollution issue. So I'll just go ahead and give them some time to introduce themselves, but we can start with Rob Iannelli. He is the founder and president at Oceanworks. So Rob, if you can tell us a little bit about your background and what you do at Oceanworks.
Sure. Hi, my name is Rob Iannelli. I am the founder and president of Oceanworks. Previous to Oceanworks, I was the founder of an eyewear business called Norton Point. We developed eyewear made from recycled ocean plastics that launched in 2016. And that essentially brought us into the inspiration to start Oceanworks. What we found is that there was definitely a consumer demand for recycled ocean plastic products. But from a business side, we found a very big gap in a lack of like a B2B platform that would help really enable the demand side of the market to find qualified supply. So before Norton Point, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've had a few different ventures in fintech, but a lot of my background has been in manufacturing, and that definitely lent fairly well to sort of how we developed not only Norton Point, but certainly how we developed our supply chain architecture for Oceanworks.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining. I know that you guys are super busy, so thank you for taking the time, Rob, and our speakers too. And so we also have our team from YKK USA. We can go with Brian LaPlante. He's the sustainability lead at YKK USA with the global marketing group. Brian, can you tell us a little bit about your role and just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm in charge of helping our sustainability communications and messaging, and also working on development of new sustainability products and technologies to address coming needs in the marketplace. So I've been involved in sustainability on the product side for a number of years. I, for a number of years, worked as director of product development at Marmot for outerwear, where we did a lot of work on sustainable materials, sustainable design, and things along those lines. I also have worked with technology startups on new green technologies for the apparel industry, particularly in coatings, laminations, products along those lines. So I've got a long history of working in the field of sustainability and dealing with the technical issues that we have to try to clean up some of the processes within the apparel industry and how it affects materials and also products.
Great, thank you. And then last but not least, we have Mike Makawa. He is the category manager at also YKK USA. He's also with the global marketing team. Hey, Mike.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Makawa, category manager at YKK USA Global Marketing. My role basically is to oversee the functional market category in the US and Canada. And probably my primary role is to lead the new concept and innovative developments that don't exist in the form of zippers or fastening products. And then, those products are usually looking at 3 to 5 years out in the future. So I actually work with the R&D teams a lot to look for new materials and technologies that are applicable to fastening products, and that's how our collaboration started with Oceanworks with this as well. Yeah, so that's about it for my introduction. Thank you.
Great, thank you all. And so before we start kind of going into detail about our collaboration and also about our products, it would be good to give some context about the current situation with marine plastics. And so I thought, Rob, maybe you can share with us your experience with, with Oceanworks, and talk about the problem of marine plastic and how it is impacting our oceans right now.
Sure. So, the majority of marine plastic, plastics entering into, the ocean, it's predominantly single-use plastics. So, you're looking at polypropylene, PET, and HDPE, and the bulk of this material has been really developed to satisfy a lot of consumer appetites. We have all sort of fell into a track of a lot of single-use plastic usage, but predominantly in a lot of markets where there's significant growth, there's very little waste management structure to actually intercept a lot of these materials and really guide it back into the circular economy. So, the figures are pretty alarming. For those of you that are not familiar, we're looking at about 8 million metric tons of plastic entering the oceans per year. That can be substantiated as about like 1 garbage truck per minute. There's lots of other interesting sort of infographics to kind of highlight that. The startling fact is, study after study is proving that a lot of these materials are not only going into the ocean, but in some ways are also becoming very challenging to either remove from the ocean or certainly intercept on their way to the ocean. I think one recent article mentioned like millions of microplastics on the sea floor. So there's a number of challenges unfolding with marine plastics, but really what it all comes down to is there's going to have to be a shift in sort of how we see this material as a resource. And certainly, if nothing's done, I think one of the more, scary facts is that I believe by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. So these are the types of sort of grim circumstances we're looking at for the future, if not now, if nothing's done. So we see our work with, lots of our customers, and certainly with YKK as the first step to starting to mitigate a lot of the damage that's already been done.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that about, how Oceanworks is what is the work that you guys are doing at Oceanworks to help address this issue? You can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. What we found in sort of, developing our eyewear business years ago is that finding very good quality supply, it's not so simple. The virgin plastic market has been very robust, for the last several decades. Whereas recycled plastics, it's a very fragmented market. It's difficult to find quality source, certainly quality source material at capacity. And there's a lot of price fluctuation due to, as we've all seen, the price of oil as of recently. So it's a bit of a three-dimensional market. So what Oceanworks really set out to do is to help identify quality materials globally and then create a centralized system that we found to be online with a digital marketplace that aggregates these materials. And then we can also rapidly sample those materials to our customers so that they can quickly understand the feasibility of the material and then effectively purchase tonnage, which is then guiding that material out of either a waste stream future or certainly affecting the environment or the ocean and getting it back into the circular economy and back into a product so that it can be used again. So we really see our value as a tool to help champion the recycling plastic industry, but then also find, valuable partners like YKK that see the value in the material, but also have the capabilities and innovations to bring that to market. So we certainly can't do this alone, but it's definitely a multi-stakeholder approach, and we're seeing a lot of success.
Yeah, and so in terms of like YKK and the products, YKK has been, working on sustainability for many years. We have our environmental pledge. Our founder was very big on preserving our natural resources. And so, one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was the launch of our natural and ocean source product. And so, Brian, if you can tell us a little bit about, the features, the unique features of this product, and also some of the applications. Where are we going to see this?
Sure. So the concept behind Ocean Source was to go ahead and address the issue of ocean plastics. And one of the big challenges that we have with ocean plastics is the majority of ocean plastic originates from land-based materials. So 80% of all ocean plastic comes from what we call ocean-bound plastic. This is plastic that's deposited within 50 kilometers of a coastline or a shoreline. So our goal was, how do we create value for that plastic to get people to go ahead and collect it, and then allow us to go ahead and use that material into zippers. So what Ocean Source does is we go ahead and use plastics collected from these ocean-bound environments, then take that plastic, make it into, recycle it into a new yarn, and then we use that yarn to go ahead and create our Ocean Source zippers using that yarn. And it is a standard number 3 and number 5 coil zipper that we use that uses the yarn in the zipper tape, creating that recycled material. So it's just like a virgin zipper made out of virgin material. It just uses the ocean-bound yarn instead, has the same durability, has the same strength, but it takes that material that is waste material and gives it value, helps pull it out of the waste stream.
Yeah, and so how is we can talk a little bit more about our partnership with Oceanworks too. And so why is this partnership important right now between YKK and Oceanworks? And what is, how did it come to fruition too? Like what was the background there?
Okay, I can probably speak about that. So Rob, you can correct me. It started in 2018, I think. So
yeah, we were much younger then.
That's right. And I remember Rob calling this our relationship legacy previously. So yeah, so we were connected through a brand when Oceanworks was still at its very early stage, I think, after you guys started your company. And our collaboration started without having any clear pictures on what it's gonna look like, what it was gonna look like at the time. But we just decided to go ahead and move forward, believing in something great to happen in the future. And of course, as I said, my role is to explore new materials and technologies applicable to fasteners. We just started to engage, and for YKK, we always strive to look to develop new and better and more sustainable products. And we knew that the concept of creating something out of marine plastic was the right thing to do. So Oceanworks was in the middle of identifying potential partners and the suppliers at the time, I think, and all across Asia. And that's how we came to this new supplier. Oceanworks was kind enough to share name of Era Group, which is the parent company of Eco Spindles, yarn supplier for natural and ocean storage. Then we started from there. Working with YKK Sri Lanka and YKK India. So I can totally say that without Oceanworks and their support, this development would have taken much longer, because finding a new supplier that meets YKK's expectation for quality is not an easy task, especially when it comes to sustainability product. Yeah, that's how our collaboration started, and where we got to today. Yeah.
And so in terms of YKK, and like we mentioned before, we've been developing, a lot of sustainable products from before it was cool to develop sustainable products. And we're seeing so many brands, so many, fashion designers wanting to create lines that are completely sustainable. And so I wonder, Brian, maybe you can answer this question. Why is it important right now for us, for YKK to continue this legacy, to continue developing sustainable products?
Well, sustainability is our future. We're at a point in time where we can only go forward by creating sustainable products. We don't have the ability to go ahead and continue to waste natural resources to go ahead and add to the climate crisis that's happening. Sustainability is going to be the thing that's going to save us as a human race and also the planet. And so we have no option but to go ahead and develop sustainable products. It's no longer a nice to have, it is now a necessity. And something that we need to look at throughout our entire business model and our supply chain of how we become more sustainable, how we become more in sync with the environment and the earth, particularly if we want to continue as a human species.
Rob, would you like to add anything from like your perspective with Oceanworks about this sustainability?
Yeah, no, I think, I think Brian really, nailed it there, as well as Mike. We're shifting in, certainly in a new decade here. And I mean, in my almost 5 years in this space, we're seeing a tremendous shift in brands and manufacturers and retailers, truthfully reacting to consumer sentiments that are changing. All the while, I think we're all becoming observant of just the level of waste that is really profound, and certainly plastics is one of those. And we have an opportunity to kind of tremendously shift the narrative moving forward, and there's such a huge opportunity here. It's not easy, as Mike mentioned, finding new suppliers and building the supply chains is complicated, but it's not rocket science. It's not impossible. And that's what we're very excited about, is the demand is there, the material's there, and how you speed up the path between demand and supply is really where Oceanworks comes in. And we couldn't be happier with, this positive future that I think we're all starting to build.
That's great. And so that leads to my next question, because I always think of sustainability and innovation, like these are two terms that we see, they're kind of like they go together. And I think there can be sustainability or innovation without thinking about sustainability right now. So I wonder from all of you, from your perspective, what is the relationship between sustainability and innovation, and what are we doing, or what can we do to help address some of the issues that we're facing with those?
Well, to speak to that, Patricia, I would counter that you cannot have innovation without sustainability being baked into it.
The other way.
If a product is innovative, it helps society, right? And how can you help society if you're not sustainable? We're at a point in our history where we have to be sustainable with everything that we do. We have to think about innovation through that lens to make it truly something that helps advance society and our societal goals. And so the two are interlinked. They're not separate anymore. We like to separate them, but the reality is innovation and sustainability are one and the same. And if you don't go ahead and design sustainability into your innovation from the start, it's not truly innovative.
Yeah. And I can speak about the development of how we have to be innovative in our development as well. When speaking about zippers specifically, because any new sustainable material we use in our product must go through sound assessment. Basically, we have to make sure the quality is okay, the color is not affected, and the strength is going to be as good as the virgin materials and all that. And because we have to maintain the top quality that YKK is known for. So our endeavor to become more sustainable as a company has always been in parallel with ensuring the top quality. So sustainability, coming together with the high quality is what matters to YKK, I believe, because the durable, long-lasting zippers contribute to extended life of product, the garments as well. And Rob spoke about the how we dispose garments every year. It's not demand driven, it's supply driven, so to say. So in order to prevent that, and we have to look at the how we can extend the product life cycle in order to be more sustainable. I think that's the way we look at it, and then that's where zipper comes in, because zipper is the mechanical component that gets damaged and abused more than other components. So, which is why I thought this collaboration with Oceanworks, especially from the point of zippers, is important. And then I think the fact that we could be, we were one of the, the initial collaborators with Oceanworks is really an important message that we have to tell and deliver to the market. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably add, the keystone to all this that we see, like the relationship between sustainability and innovation is really creativity. Right. You have to look at sort of a rat's nest here of the issue and then try and see some type of pattern amongst all the noise and chaos, and to build a vision or to reimagine, well, if this is how it is now, what do we need to do to make it better and how do we improve that? And, we certainly saw the sense of creativity from YKK really thinking about, let alone, how do you start the product development process, and really starting to take a step back and reassessing, well, this is how it's always been done. Maybe there's a reason why it doesn't have to always be done that way if you just reimagine. And so we at Oceanworks really build creativity into, really our team and really our ethos, because you have to have creative ideas if you're going to overcome obstacles. It's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah. Great. And this is like my last question, because I think we cannot ignore what's happening right now. We're all dealing with a global pandemic, and I wonder, and I want to hear your perspectives about, what do you think is going to be the impact of this coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic on sustainability specifically? I think it would be interesting to see, what are some of the trends, or what are we going to see in the future with this?
Well, I don't think sustainability is going to stop. COVID-19 is going to create a pause here while it re-alters the apparel landscape in so many different ways. But I think more than anything else, this moment in time, this pandemic is, one, forcing everyone to realize how interconnected we all are, right? And I think it's also made people realize how connected we are to the earth, and that we have a looming issue ahead of us in climate change that is going to be far worse than the pandemic we're going through right now. In fact, climate change is going to make pandemics more common in the future if we don't go ahead and address that issue. So I think more than anything else, it is really increasing people's awareness of how important sustainability is, and the fact that we cannot continue to operate the way we have generations and generations. We need to start making changes. Hopefully this will force people to go ahead and think about that as I said, sheltered at home with a lot of idle time on their hands.
Yeah, I can add that as well. While COVID-19 is causing major damage to people and of course the economy, which is a huge loss and it's sad, but I personally can't help somehow thinking that it was designed to push sustainability to the next level. Like people are saying that the sky has never been clearer for decades in some places, and then and quite honestly, with this lockdown going on, I spend more and more time with my family. I've never spent this much time with my family in my entire lifetime, probably, because I'm usually on the road a week or two a month, before the lockdown came in place, and then that kind of made me realize that it made me think about the future more, because I see them growing up, every day, and I have to teach them. Schools are closed too, and then I think it's this makes a lot. The sustainability has become a lot more personal, at least to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling that way. So I think it's going to only accelerate the sustainability that COVID-19. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I agree 100%, with both Mike and Brian. I think the world's sort of taking a pause to kind of reevaluate. I think consumers and businesses, I think there's certainly going to be an increase, unfortunately, with some single plastic usage for hygiene reasons, and certainly there's a lot of focus on that right now, and what's going to happen in the plastics industry in light of COVID. But I think sustainability is here to stay. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think I may end up having like a degree in optimism, but I do believe the future has a lot in store. And I think both consumers and businesses are certainly trying to understand what this means, both from an economic perspective, but also from an environmental. And we're hopeful that businesses will continue to make decisions that are going to be good for people and planet. And I think that's ultimately where this is all headed, because like it or not, we are all connected, whether it's through a Zoom screen or in the real world. So
Yep.
we're in it together.
Great. And I think, I ran out of questions. I think I asked a lot of questions. But I wanted to give you some time if you want to share any final thoughts, and also invite the audience. So if you have any questions, you can write them on the chat box, and I'll try to choose a few since we have some time left. But if you guys have any final thoughts to add before we leave. And Mike, I think we missed one of the things that you wanted to talk also was the community work in Sri Lanka too. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I kind of lost my
Yeah,
time to share that, but it's my personal attachment to Sri Lanka as well. EcoSpindle, our yarn supplier, Sri Lanka. And because of the fact that they are from Sri Lanka, it came when they came into the scope of the project. I was really excited because I went there in 2005, and I did an intern at the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Japan for about 3 months. It was more of like a volunteer work, and then I worked to foster the interaction between Japan and Sri Lanka by facilitating a lot of events, meetings, and cultural activities. And I feel privileged of getting to work with and for Sri Lanka again, because YKK, we operate in more than 70 countries in the world, and giving back to the community, or how we can contribute to the community, is really important. So throughout this project, I feel really honored that I could be a part of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka again through my professional career. So that's something I really wanted to highlight, my personal attachment to Sri Lanka through this project. Well, thank you, Patricia, for giving me the chance to share this. I'm really appreciative of that.
Thank
I
you.
think Mike does bring up a very important point here, and that is Oceansource is unique in YKK's portfolio of sustainable products, and the fact that this is something that also helps a local community as well, right?
Yep.
The goal here is not just to make a zipper out of ocean-bound plastic and address the issue of plastic flowing in the ocean. It also addresses the municipal waste issues that you have in underdeveloped countries.
Yep.
It also creates employment opportunities for people that are underserved as well, and that don't have economic means. So now we have people out collecting plastic from the waterways, from the beaches in Sri Lanka, that's then being turned into this yarn that we're using in our zippers, and it's creating value for that waste, and it's bringing incomes into these families, and also addressing the municipal waste issue that we have on Sri Lanka. And that's the next step, I think, in sustainability. It's not just, are we doing something that's better for the planet, but are we also doing something that's helping societies and where we're operating as well? It's a multi-dimensional thing we need to be looking at.
Yep. Yeah, it has to be a multi-stakeholder approach. When we engage with our supply chain partners, it has to be very clear that it's a win-win-win for all involved. And I think that's a very unique aspect that's being brought into sustainability, whereas maybe perhaps in different sort of more capital-driven markets, there unfortunately is sometimes a loser that is not getting the full benefit. What we're really striving for is exactly that. This has to be holistically beneficial to all involved. Otherwise, the incentive's not there, and it's much harder to scale something that's not creating positive impact. So, we couldn't agree more.
All right, and we have one question from James Reed, president at YKK Corporation of America. So it's, what are the best sources for collecting ocean-based plastic, and are there opportunities to collect plastic in the Western Hemisphere?
Want me to take that? The best sources. Well, if you go onto like the Oceanworks site, we have about like 6 different sources. So ocean plastics, not all are sort of created equal. You know, some of these materials are actually like pre-consumer. So from a manufacturing perspective, it's scrap that in a lot of cases will not have a safe home to go to per se. So it's either going into an informal waste stream or to landfill incineration, or sometimes it's making its way into the environment, into the ocean. There's ocean bound. So those are materials that are within the 50 kilometers, you know, that Brian mentioned earlier, where there's no waste management. And then there's also material that we're sourcing from waterway. So it's on its way, suspended in water to the ocean. So think of that as a highway. And then there's also source material coastal. So that's material that's exited a river or a delta and washed back ashore. Near shore material, we have some partners that are collecting that material within about 10 kilometers into the sea from the coastline. So think about like ghost gear fishing nets and such. And then lastly, high seas, which is not commercially viable at the moment. There is the Ocean Cleanup, who is seeking to attain that material, but it's very costly, and it has yet to be fully sort of, you know, commercially launched. The second part of the question, Western Hemisphere, yes. You know, we are starting to onboard more partners in North America. It's important to know that like ocean bound and ocean plastics is not just a developing country issue. When it rains in Los Angeles, where we're headquartered, the LA River kicks out a lot of plastic. So, you know, we have to think of it as every coastline is being impacted. So I think we're going to see more, I think, growth in Western Hemisphere sourcing. And, you know, our plan really is to build a global network of supply chain partners so that you can manufacture in, let's say, in Indonesia with material from, you know, Indonesia, and kind of tightening those supply chains. That's a great question.
All right, well, I think that was it. We don't have any more questions, but I want to thank you all for taking the time. I know you guys are super busy. There's a lot going on right now. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And again, if there are any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share before we leave the call, and we're also recording, so we'll be sending this and sharing this through social media as well, and we'll make sure to add also the link to Oceanworks website so people can learn more about what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Fantastic.
All right.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, man.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone. It was
Yep.
good seeing
Thank
you.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.